Hey everybody, and welcome to another rapid review video. Today I'm going to be talking about these 5 filler games. So we have Alice's Garden, we have Dandelions, Scout, Maskmen, and Hot Lead, or Hot Lead, depending on how you want to read it. Before I get started on the review of these 5 games, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer when it comes to buying board games here in the UK. And if you use my link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. Okay, so I'm going to start with my least favourite and work my way up to my most favourite. And that means we are going to start with Dandelions. So Dandelions is a 15-minute game that caters for 2 to 3 players, so quite a specific player count there. And in this one, you are going to have this big cluster of dice. You're going to roll them all, and then you're going to select one in order to move your pawn around these petals that number of spaces. Now you can see here on the higher point petals, there are fewer spaces for your pawn to land on. But it does mean that at the end of the game, for every petal that your dice are on, you're going to get the corresponding amount of points. However, there is also a trick where if you have the most dice on a specific petal, you're also going to score all the pip values on those dice. And that's pretty much the gist of the game. There is some kind of interaction where if you land on a spot, you can kick everyone off with the matching corresponding pip value onto the adjacent petals. So there's this constant back and forth trying to have the majorities, I suppose, and try and manipulate the board state to suit you. And I suppose in theory I should like this game because I do generally like quick little dice games. This one for me though, it felt a bit tedious. There's a lot of counting, and I really did struggle to extract the fun from it. It seems like you're always just kind of, counting how many spaces your pawn's going to move, counting who's got the majorities, counting who's got the most pips, what's going to benefit you most. So it seems like more of a game of admin rather than the game of the fun itself. The decisions were fairly minuscule. So yeah, this was a bit of a miss for me, and it just felt like work, a bit too much tedium, and yeah, I didn't really get much from it. So despite it being 15 minutes long, it actually felt like a bit of a chore even playing for that short time frame. So I have to admit that I cannot recommend Dandelions. Next up, we have Hot Lead by Dr. Reiner. Knizia. This is a 2 to 5 player game, and another one that takes only 15 minutes to play. Now this is a simultaneous card selection game, as every person is going to get given a number of these animal cards at random, and they all have a unique number on them. I think it's ranging from 1 up to 50 something, and then you're going to reveal a number of these scoring cards equal to the players. Then simultaneously, everybody's going to select a card from their hand, reveal them. Whoever's played the highest will take the card furthest to the left. Whoever's played the lowest will take it furthest to the right. And then everything in between will be dished out accordingly. And of course, these cards have different point values on them, so you want to be getting the ones with the most points. And there are some other little wrinkles added in as well, where if you are the first to collect 2 of a certain type, you'll get a bonus 5 points, I believe. If you end the game with exactly 3 cards of each type or a type, you'll get a bonus 10 points. And the reason for that is that if you ever have 4 of the same cards, you end up wiping them and losing them. So it does have this kind of push your luck mechanism to it, where you want to have exactly 3, but no more than that. There are some little modules as well you can add in, such as these bonus points, which tuck in behind the other ones, which can act as negative points, which might make you think twice in terms of collecting those sets. That's pretty much what the game has to offer. It is very rapid, and it is that kind of one mechanism style game. So it is a bit of a one-trick pony, but I do think you could do a lot worse in terms of a 15-minute game. But despite that, I think I would rather play something like For Sale. Has a little bit more tactical decisions going on. Makes your decisions feel a little bit more meaningful, whereas this one, sometimes you are dealt a bunch of cards that aren't really going to work well together, because if you get all the high value cards, then you're pretty much always going to acquire the card furthest to the left, which kind of submits your control of the game. So it would have been nice if they had a bunch of kind of preset decks, I suppose, rather than being completely random, because you do want a balanced amount to give you, again, some control over what you're acquiring. But it's fine. It's not great, but it's not bad either. That is Hot Lead, or Hot Lead, depending on how you want to say it. Next up, we have Alice's Garden, which is a 1 to 4 player polyomino game that takes around 30 minutes to play on average. So in this one, every person is going to get given this personal player board that looks like this. Then on your turn, you are going to select which shape of polyomino tile you want from these rather nice bags here. You're going to draw a number of tiles equal to the number of players, and then in turn order you're going to be drafting them and placing them on your player board. Now you can see here that these tiles are not only different shapes, which you're going to be trying to fill your whole grid up, because any gaps at the end of the game are going to cost you negative points, but you can see that within those tiles you have shapes as well, or symbols, which will all score in different ways. Like for example, you want these mushrooms to be in the same column. You want these rose bushes to be connecting with each other because they're going to score on a sliding scale here. You've got this chessboard down the center of the table, which corresponds to these chess pieces, because if you get them in the right space, they're going to be worth 5 points each, and so on. You can see how all these different things are going to score, and you are playing a puzzle within a puzzle here. Now, I must admit that generally speaking, polyomino games are something I'm quite fatigued with. They don't really interest me anymore, but this one really did rejuvenate the genre for me. I enjoy this one quite a bit, and I played it quite a few times, and I'm not even slightly sick of it, and I quite hotly anticipate playing it more. So yeah, really nice one. I think the distribution model is suffering at the moment. I don't think it's widely available, but if you do see this one out in the wild and can get your hands on a copy, and you like puzzly style games, then this is definitely one to look at. I like it quite a lot. Okay, so the final two games I'm talking about are Scout and Maskmen. And the reason I'm talking about these two together is because there's a lot of similarities between the two. Number one, for obvious reasons, they are both published by OINK Games, but from a mechanical standpoint, they are also alike. They are both hand management, kind of ladder climbing, shedding style games. And let's start with Scout. So Scout is without doubt the most popular game out of these two, and probably one of the most popular games OINK have ever put out. So this game really did blow up in this last year or two, and it was nominated, and it might have even won the Spiel des Jahres. I cannot quite remember. But in this one you have a hand of cards, and those cards are going to remain fixed in place. So you cannot adjust them, you can't put them in the order that you like. They are locked in place there. And what you want to be doing is you're trying to play a stronger suit of cards, or a stronger play than the previous bunch of cards that have been played by the last player. So if they played a 7, you want to be playing an 8, or maybe a pair of 7s, or anything stronger. But the fact that you cannot adjust those cards in your hand adds quite a conundrum, because as you play things, you want to be trying to almost break out the gaps and try to put stronger cards together in your hand in order to put you in a stronger position later. So I love that constant card crafting and trying to manipulate that hand state to give you bigger and bigger plays. And there are some amazing satisfying plays you can do here as you end up playing, 5, 6 or 7 card runs. So great when it works. I cannot recommend this one enough. I think it got popular for a good reason. It strikes that great balance between being clever but still breezy and easy to play, and it almost makes you feel clever, even though that some of the decisions are pretty micro. You're not making huge decisions here, but you do feel responsible for your own fate. And it has that kind of magic in a box, and I really am impressed by the way it is put together. So kind of jumped on the hype train with this one, but I think it is well deserved. So yeah, I really do like this one. It's in my top 100, and I can't really see it moving anytime soon. Now let's talk about Maskmen. So Maskmen is, I would say, a natural progression from a game like Scout. Another game where you are trying to shed the cards in your hand, and all the cards in this game are going to be represented by these kind of luchador wrestler cards. No other information on them other than the type of card itself. So this is almost like a trick-taking game. It is a ladder climbing game, but you are actually creating the strength of those cards and suits as the game develops. So let's say I played the pink wrestler here. That will put it kind of low on the totem pole. Then if somebody plays 2 of the next type of card, let's say this green wrestler, then we know that green wrestler is now stronger than the pink one. And that's how the game is going to play. You're going to keep on, determining the strength of these wrestlers and then trying to shed the cards by trumping the previous played suit. It's quite an obtuse game, one that's not the easiest to wrap your head around and to teach, but once it clicks, it is very clever, and it does reward that extra effort you might have to put in. So it's not a game you're going to get to the table straight away and just click or resonate with you instantly like a game like Scout. But again, if you put that extra work in, this is really one that's going to pay off and is equally as fun. Maybe not quite as free-flowing, but I do think there's room for both in your collection. And this one could be a hit if more people knew about it. Very nice game, very clever, and it feels different to a lot of other games out there. So do not look over this one. And if you can find a copy and you like unique and distinct card games, then try headhunting this one and getting a copy in your collection to try for yourself. Okay, so that concludes the video. Hopefully you found value in this, and apologies if you wanted a full deep dive on any of these games, but unfortunately I just do not have the time, and I've got to try and fight through this big back catalogue of games that I need to review. But hopefully it gave you an idea on how they play, the key mechanisms, and ultimately what I think of them. A big discrepancy in the games here. Dandelions was a bit of a dud, but you get to these really great games like Alice's Garden and these two by OINK games here. So if you have enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other content too. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.